amongst us. I mean, I know you said it was placed on file. They agreed to Moors.
That's what you're doing. That's what you're doing. So all of that is right thought process. You making sure that that's the job of an ambassador, is to make sure that our interest is secure in that area. Our people's interest is secure in that area. So the Asiatic community, the Asiatic race and nation and communities in that area of Inkster, inhabiting Inkster, the city of Inkster, Wayne County. Well, I was gonna say that's the mission. You want to make, and so if you at the city council meetings and you in meeting with the executive office, and that means that you have executed the mandate, the issue from the prophet. The prophet said,
no, that's what he said.
The prophet said that. The prophet said, take your place amongst the affairs of men. So he gave a mandate to the sheiks and sheikesses and the members of the Moorish Science Temple of America. So all Moorish Americans, all members of the Moorish Science Temple of America, is subject to the laws, rules, and usage and oral laws, meaning I ain't running baseball diamonds. What, you gonna run the whole park? Or you gonna run the baseball diamond? It don't matter. All right, we'll get what you gonna do. Make a decision. Come on, man, run this baseball diamond so we can see what's going on. Y'all don't run all the way around. You set that clock to 30 minutes? What time is it? 10:32. So 11 o'clock. 11:02.
Rockdale last night. Put up on this bitch. This motherfucker. Little white boy came
Islam, Muslim.
Islam.
That Muslim in the back with all that profanity. Islam, Muslim.
That's your man you met too.
Islam.
I know. I ain't gonna never forget his voice.
Hands in, not out.
I got us on the on our page, man, on the YouTube page, dropping more signs with the ambassador for Inkster, Brother Ward Bay. Islam. But going back to the subject matter, excuse me, I ain't mean to interrupt y'all. I was just hollering at y'all.
I apologize. I know you heard him, Muslim.
No. You know, y'all doing y'all thing. I ain't interrupting. But we was dropping on the science of the mandate. We going back to the mandate and the proclamation. And the prophet in the divine warning proclamation, the prophet said to one of the things he said would end all agitated and radical speeches. He also talked about doing your part in protecting the temple and the prophet. Right. And so that's what you're doing, because the temple comprises of the people, the body of indigenous Moorish peoples in America congregating and practicing their ancestral practices in alignment with their heritage. We are adhered to, you know, our divine covenant. So the prophet taught us and gave us instructions. So the mandate is in the Holy Quran, Circle 7, in reference to the divine instructions from the Holy Prophet. And then the acts, the 7 acts, and then the 7 additional acts. And so that's the mandate. The Moorish Americans,
that's some weed I get from other side.
That's the mandate, and then our authority was declared. And so all the things is put into place for us to continue to do what we're doing right now, which is taking our place amongst the affairs of men and moving about with, with all of our development, from the hemp, from the industrial hemp farming, housing development, to making sure that we end all forms of discrimination against the Asiatic communities, which includes the Moorish Americans and Mexicans, North America. You know, I broke it down earlier And
Mm-hmm.
so, yeah, so that's why I asked, like, well, what's the definition of proclamation? What's the definition of a mandate? Then when you look at our literature, in the Moorish doctrine, you know, the prophets say we looking for this is open for active Moors. You know, we're looking for active Moors, not passive Moors. The
Mm-hmm.
prophet also talks about how this field is open for strong men and women. And so we got the mandate for sure. Now our ability to carry into effect the provisions of the divine covenant. Come on, pick it up, son. Pick it up. Our ability to carry out the provision, carry into effect the provisions of the divine covenant. I love truth, peace, freedom, and justice. And so if you're doing the right thing by getting in the mix, by making sure that you address the city clerk, the county clerk, the state of Michigan Secretary of State, all three of those departments are relevant departments, as you already know, in dealing with your national citizenship and to ensure the level of recognition and all of the other inherent entitlements that's attached to your national citizenship. And some of those things are spelled out in the rights of indigenous people. It's spelled out in the indigenous people and tribal convention. I can't really remember what year, but in it, it has declared the peoples of the world, including the peoples of the United States, has in writing communicated in a more detailed way what these entitlements imply or what it looks like. The mandate, as you talked about, the mandate.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the mandate. You got the mandate from the nations of the earth, and the prophet summons them up. The prophet summons the nations of the earth up in 1913 AD, and officially in 19, well, I want to say officially, but with the adoption of the corporate name, Morris Science Temple of America, and he filed on the record, the public record, our affidavit of organization to organize the tribe, the Moorish tribe, North America, of the Asiatic race and nations, and then brought forth the history, and with the history you got the law. Now, without history you can't have law. So the prophet brought the history that was missing, that was dealing with the issue of slavery and our national identities, dealing with our national origin, i.e. nationality, via Act 6. With us, all members must proclaim their nationality. And we are teaching our people their nationality and their divine creed so they may know that they are part and parcel of this said government and know that they are not Negroes, colored folks, Black people, or Ethiopians. These names were given to slaves by slaveholders in 1779 and lasted until 1865 during the time of slavery. But this is a new era in time now. And all men now must proclaim their free national name to be recognized in the government in which they live and the nations of the earth, right? So this is the reason why Allah ordained Noble Drew Ali, the prophet. So Noble Drew Ali was ordained, so Noble Drew Ali received the mandate. He received the mandate to come down and to bring forth or return, to bring back again the missing information which connects the peoples to their heritage, to consciousness, or brings them into consciousness or into the light, into the marvelous light. Because not knowing is associated with dark. So they say, oh, this is the dark ages, dark era. in reference to people not knowing their national origin and their ancestral practices. And so with that, you have an adoption of foreign customs and ideologies, which are not naturally inherent to the Asiatics of North America, who were branded Black, Negroes, and colored folks, and Ethiopians. And then so therefore you have a correction to address the era or the public health crisis of 1913, 1914, all the way up till really post 1913. Post 1913. So post 1913, you had slavery, 1779, lasted up to 1865 during the time of slavery. So in that bubble of time, you had a public health crisis. A public health crisis. You had people in slavery, people being treated inhumane. You had a people, it was bad. I ain't got to tell you about what you already know. Right. So these things that took place created measures to address these errors, to end the public health crisis, to end the economic crisis at North America and throughout the world. And so when you look at, when did the United Nations assemble? The Prophet came before the United Nations in a process of becoming, or what is known as, the United Nations. So you got to go into the League of Nations. You got to go into the Treaty of Judah, dealing with the Sultan, the first king of Saudi Arabia, and his relationship to Noble Drew Ali and to the rest of the world. And so it's the reason why you see the first king of Saudi Arabia on page 2 of the Holy Quran, Circle 7, divinely prepared by the noble prophet Drew Ali, of the Moorish Science Temple, founder of the Moorish Science Temple of America, 1913 AD, for the uplifting of fallen humanity amongst the Asiatic nations of North America, which includes the Moors, who were the what? Who are the descendants of the ancient Moabites, who founded the holy city of Mecca. So the reason why this wasn't known is because we was enslaved by the same people, not just the Western Christian powers, but also the so-called Eastern Islamic powers, right? Right. Yeah. So the Moors were enslaved by both parties. However, the Moors were enslaving, the Moors had their hands, that was an industry. And so if you're going this way more, you want to walk all the way around. You walk all the way around. And so you got fraud being practiced by all parties. Like the prophet said, all nations have suffered slavery due to the fact that they honor not the creed and principles of their forefathers. And he said the Moors were stripped, or they lost the Moors' nationality was taken away from them in 1774, right? He said because they chased after the gods of Europe, whom they knew nothing. And so they was practicing things of foreign nature, foreign culture, that had nothing to do with the customs, principles, the merits, the virtues, and ideologies and philosophies, etc. in science, more science. We run around here adopting stuff, talking about it's cool to do as a direct violation. We directly violating our holy temples today, practicing things that ain't got nothing to do with our ancestral practices. And so as a result, it's mental slavery, public health crisis, public mental health crisis. Actually, you're really looking at an issue of mental health. Mm-hmm. And so in that correction of that mental health, the universal order sent us a prophet, sent us a doctor, a therapist, sent us a psychologist, sent us a sociologist, sent us a physician, sent us a mastermind, sent Allah manifested in the flesh, right? And sent us a cure to free us from what? mental slavery, mental disease. We have a mental health crisis amongst the Asiatic nations of North America, who are now labeled as Black, Negro, and colored people, and fraudulently led to believe that, you know, it don't matter about their national origin, which it does matter. Why do you think you have a United Nations? That came post the prophet. That was post the prophet. The prophet called upon the nations of the earth to help him remove this great sin, to save the planet from diseases and earthquakes. That's the mandate. That's the mandate. He said he called upon all the peoples of the earth. He said, love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice must be practiced in all lands, in all nations. That's in the end of time.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
You know, it's not being practiced over here.
Right. He called upon. That's why you go into the divine origin of the Asiatic nations. It teaches you the Japanese, the Chinese, the Arabians, the Hindus of India, the Moorish Americans and Mexicans of North America, Brazilians, Nicaraguans, the natives of El Salvador, the Colombians of Central America. He talked about the Turks, the seeds of Hagar. He went into the science and let you know all of these are Muslims. Muslims is an ancient, Asiatic is the modern term for Muslim. So when you're talking about the Asiatic nations, all of these are Muslims. And so he told you the keys of civilization was and is in the hands of the Asiatic nations of North America, who were of Moorish descent. The Moorish are the descendants of the ancient Moabites who founded the holy city of Mecca. Then Obama jumped up there in 2011 and dropped the same science. So right now, and in chapter 47 of the mandate from Allah, the divine instruction states that the Holy Quran is for the uniting of Asia. They're talking about the sons of Asia. So when you go into chapter 47 of the Capital Empire, Dominion, and Maxim, it teaches you that how we came from the Holy Land of Canaan, out of Asia. Then we went out and populated. It teaches you about how the Moors received permission for the pharaohs to inhabit the northwest and the southwestern shores. It teaches you about all that, about our migrant, our going out and going to develop civilizations on the planet Earth. In fact, page 3 of the divine instructions entitled Know Thyself, in the industrious acts of the Muslims, to tell you we built these kingdoms known this day: Morocco, Algiers, Tunis, Tripoli, etc. So when the prophet came, he called upon the nations of the earth, and the nations of the earth assembled to address the colonization of the Moorish Empire. This is why you got today what is manifested to the scene as decolonization, Resolution 1514, or what they title the granting of independence to colonial states or colonial peoples, meaning that's us, people that's been colonized. And so the prophet called upon that. He put the pressure on the world to assemble to address colonization, which is the single most threat to public health today. It's the number one threat to public health and stabilization across America, across the world. It's colonization. And so measures have been taken on a global level. Now it's trickling down into your communities, into the municipalities, etc. So that's what's going on. But this might
so
more.
Would it be out of line to send a judicial notice to the United Nations?
You said out of line. I don't know about out of line.
Not out of line. I'm saying, is that something we want to do?
Is that something you want to do? I mean, I think all those progressive actions are positive actions, and announcing yourself either as an individual or through the organization and institutions, the indigenous organization in reference to the indigenous organizations and institutions. I think the declaration addresses that as, you know, if I come in a singular, just me, my wife and children, or just me, myself, or the Moorish Science Temple, or any indigenous institution organized for the upliftment of for the upliftment of fallen humanity, I think all of that is positive. It depends on where you at along the road. In my the way that I think, based on my experiences, because I went through a lot of different phases at taking actions with reference to my, you know, administrating salvation on behalf of myself. And I think every stop of it, I learned every phase of it, I was developed even more than I was previous. And so all those actions help build. It's like going to school. It's like sitting in a college classroom, except for life is the university. And so knowledge is one thing, but applied knowledge confers power and authority. So the more that you apply and assert and take your place amongst the affairs of men, is only can be perceived as a good thing. Remember, trust law is established through intent and purpose. So there's nothing wrong with being transparent about your intent and purpose. That's what actually invokes the law, or trust law, or divine law, or Moorish science, or Moorish law, love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Just all synonyms of each other. Dealing with natural law, you know, my intent and purpose is to eliminate, eradicate homelessness, or should I say the housing crisis within the Asiatic community. Most of the people that's either has been severely and fatally injured by this crisis is a family member, or a friend, or a neighbor, or a cousin, or a brother. And so it's our rights to exercise our five senses and addressing and correcting these issues. It's your right to develop a business plan, a proposal, a development plan, a housing development plan, and to do your research and to find out what would it take to get this going, and put it together and identify truth in every part of that, and then present it, and then gain the support of the other, like you say, world leaders, municipalities, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. They all have the same mandate to not only, you know, increase security, address the emergencies, help solve problems, help maintain peace at North America and throughout the world. And so it's our right and responsibility to raise our thoughts to infinite wisdom and put together such activities. We got the mandate to do so. And so failure to act is a breach of trust on our part. Therefore, under martial law or military law, we can be invaded by foreign powers to come in with and implement their development plans with our finance. So either we can do our part and lead the cause of uplifting the fallen humanity, or we can fall in line with the rest of the inactive Muslims. So you can keep grinding, you can keep going, you can keep being active and being effective in your measures and your counsels. Most important thing is to be active. Get out there, get in the middle of the street, and understand. But you're not out there, like you say, you're not out there just getting stuff off your chest. You out there gaining support for your plan, for your implementation of your indigenous affairs, indigenous developments at Inkster, at Pontiac, at at Detroit, at, you know what I'm saying, Chicago, at, in this area, in this place. And that's just what it is. They got, like I said, going back to the money or the finance. They got funding being allocated for infrastructure. And that's one of the things our movement needs severely is development of the infrastructure. You know, we ain't got no funeral homes. We ain't got no cemeteries. We ain't got our hands on the water pipes. We ain't got, you know what I'm saying? Like we gotta get in the game here and to the best of our ability understand what is infrastructure. You know, what is these legislations? How do we align with it? We talk about economic relief. We talk about developing infrastructure. We talk about going into the military science, security of a nation. So we can't allow ourselves as a nation not to have a security mechanisms in place. So infrastructure increases security and help bring stability to the nation, to the region. So basically, man, we just got to adopt. We got to adopt the same mentality as the people that we approach it, you know. And so that's where I'm at with it, man. Peace. Slide down the right way, boy. I'm out here with my junior. Here, excuse me. Keep doing what you're doing. Yeah, so that's where I'm at with it, bro. Yeah, I would. Yes, yeah, I would continue to package myself up as professional as possible.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to take, make sure you just you cross your T's and you dot your I's on all your correspondence. Make sure it's organized correspondence and make sure it's it guides people directly into your economic development, community economic development plan. So have a plan, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Have a plan and understand that. To me, this is my experience talking that you have an agenda in front of you. Not only am I sending you something, but more importantly, why am I sending correspondence? What do I need support with? Because this thing is about solving problems, right? This is all about solving problems, getting to a state where we can address the several issues that's been, holding us down, or whatever it may be. I'm not really a fan of the victim thing, but it's a reality. However, we seek to remedy that reality. You get what I'm saying? Like, we're not here to let that be the political discussion for 3 hours. I mean, that's cool. I mean, but the fact of the matter is, we have a plan to address the issue.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, all right, we get the history of how we got to this point. But I'm a businessman, I'm a leader of a nation, and the business is the well-being, the individual growth, and which spurs the collective growth. Each individual on the team has a role, has a gift, has a vision that fits, their purpose. You know what I'm saying? So we want to be in a position where environment matters. Having a nice environment, housing, don't have to worry about homelessness or paying rent. You can be in a position of home ownership. You can be in a position where, our people within our community don't have to worry about paying foreign powers to live. That's what's going on. So how can we be strong as a nation when every one of our dollars, our energy source is going to a foreign power, right? You know, so if the landlord is Korean, then this money is going to the Korean community. If the landlord is Russian, then this money is going to the Russian American community, and so forth and so on. And so I seek to implement this Moorish housing development plan, where we able to collect our dollars, our taxes, our revenues, and we able to get we able to get more of a leverage for our life force, you know, and that creation cycle. So on a 7-day span, who you spending your money with? It's a foreign nation, whether they are born here or not, right? And so I believe, well, I don't just believe, that's the mandate for the prophet. The prophet said, in fact, the divine instruction states that in the Holy Covenant of the Asiatic nation, you are not to forsake your own for a stranger. You're not to forsake their own blood for a stranger. And so if we put us in a position, since we putting us in a position to now develop and implement our housing development initiative, this addresses that issue. We're addressing the issue. We know for a fact that we're spending billions of dollars on rent. We want to reverse that. We know for a fact millions of Asiatics around the country is dealing with homelessness, either serious homelessness, or I'm staying with my cousin, I'm staying with an auntie, I'm staying with somebody because I'm unable to get through an application because of my credit, because of my criminal background. Well, we're going to get rid of all those different issues. You know, every member of the Asiatic community, Moorish American community, has services to where, you know, has those housing programs in place to make sure that our members are housed, number one, two, in a position of ownership. You know, that's their entitlement as pre-colonization. Pre-colonization. And so that's the issue at hand. And so we've adopted at Moorish Science Temple of America, Temple number 13, under my administration. We've implemented and adopted that policy, that resolution, resolution 1514, decolonization of the indigenous people. And so that's
resolution. That's you said that's a House resolution.
No, that's a UN. That's a United Nations
United
resolution.
Nations resolution. Oh,
yeah, 1514, which is entitled "The Granting of Independence to Colonial Nations, Colonial Peoples," and what that means is that we all have been colonized. So that's why you see the everything that's happening in politics in America today, from the in and all discriminations legislation, the Asian American movement, the Black Lives Matter movement, the LBGQT community movement. You got the disarmament in place. You got a bunch of legislation coming out to disarm Americans, or, you know, however you want to put it. But if you look at the United Nations agenda, it's simply implementation of the UN agenda. Whether it's dealing with with the public health crisis, or dealing with the security councils, in the different organs of the United Nations. Now you're seeing it being more implemented through the states, down to the cities, etc. And so, like I say, man, in closing, just make sure your actions that you take are organized actions, are well thought out actions, and they lead to a bigger bag.
Right. Okay.
At the end of the day, if a brother like you that visualize uplifting your community, then you're gonna need financial support. And as an indigenous Moorish American inhabitant of at North America, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, that should warrant support and financial resources from the international community and the local and the local government units.
So we are Moorish American citizens, not United States of America citizens, or are we both?
Listen. We are American nationals. We have a national citizenship, and so meaning that because you're really dealing with allegiance, right? And so the term, not the term or the statement, honor thy father and thy mother, right? So you owe your allegiance first and foremost to your nation, to your people.
Right.
You feel what I'm saying? Your ancestors, your ancient ancestors. That's where your first pledge of allegiance, you know what I'm saying? That covenant, that first covenant, and then everything else got to respect that, no matter where you're born at. No matter where you're born at. So if you're born in Brazil, you know what I'm saying? You owe your allegiance to your ancient ancestors. So when the government asks you for your national descent name and you fail to give it, you are misused, imprisoned, or exiled. You know what I'm saying? So no matter where I'm at on the planet, I'm a Moor. You know, Moors of Europe, Moors of America, commonly referred to as Moorish Americans, descendants of Moroccans, not Morocco, but descendants of Moroccans, the people, the nation, descendants of Moroccans. You know what I'm saying? The people are Moroccans, and I'm born in America. Now, when you go into that history, you see your relationship with America, North, South, Central America, we're dealing with the land. And then the chartered government, the Republic, United Nations, Islam, the Republic, United States of America, meaning other people for the people, etc., via the Constitution. This contractual agreement by those who are interested in serving as public servants, subject to the following, i.e., this is the system, the business. And so that political union between nations, these 50 states are actually nation states, republics with constitutions. All these are republics, Republic of Michigan, Republic of Texas, Republic of Missouri, Republic of this, Republic of that, meaning they constitutionally sanctioned, subject to Muslim law, because the Constitution derives from Muslim law. The Muslim world derived from the Moors, who are the ancient sons and daughters, descendants of the ancient Moabites, who founded the holy city of Mecca. Love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. And so that's the issue at hand. So when you look at these states, they have constitution. And so the Constitution is the what? The mandate.
Law of the land, the mandate.
When you look at the divine constitution and bylaws, what's that? The mandate. So now you've been given that mandate, it's been put in your hands. And it's under the sovereign seal of Noble Drew Ali, who founded the Moorish Science Temple of America for the uplift and the fall of humanity. So this becomes your nation state. The organization of the Eels and Bays, the tribal Eels and Bays. These are nations, your free national descent names. I'm Eel. And everything else is a given name, titles to property. So everything becomes a property right. That's why indigenous peoples and the decolonization is so serious, because you're dealing with a property right, meaning that you have been reattached Your rights pre-existing colonization is recognized around the world. That's what that means. Meaning that you got rights to land, rights to water, the mineral rights, all kind of rights, rights to property right. It's in trust. It's the estate. The estate has been redeemed. That's why the prophet called on the entire planet to step up to the plate, or everybody gonna be destroyed. And you see what's going on. They got 1,000 tornadoes over here. They got diseases over here. They got viruses over there. They got bullets and gunshots over there. They got heart attacks and this going on over there. They got people starving from not, everything you see what's going on around the world. What you see what's going on. They promote hate every day. It's in the music. You can't listen to the music. You're going to get possessed, start killing yourself, killing everybody around you. Don't take me out. Cut the music off. Because they sending spells through frequencies and vibrations. But if you don't know yourself, then you don't even know you being attacked. You thinking everything's sweet. Oh, they got us. Yeah, okay. Know thyself and thy Father God Allah. The nearest place you can meet Allah is where?
From the heart.
Okay. So that forces you to understand your biological chemical makeup, your genetic makeup. How the hell you ain't gonna master that? What are you talking about? How the hell can we learn about math and science and all this other stuff, or how to run a business, how to break down the AFI, and you don't even know where your stomach at? You don't even know what the lungs do. You don't even know, you know what I'm saying? Like you gotta go to the hospital. 90% of our people get sick, go to the hospital. 65% of the people nowadays not even coming home from the hospital. So you gotta understand, just because Cuz don't got a military suit on and he got that little white coat on, Cuz still a part of the agenda. But really, you the only person to blame. That's why the Holy Quran teaches us, if man must find his devil, he must look within. Now, you find out you've been killing yourself. That's why we say Islam instead of good morning. Because we're not cool about death. We're not cool about killing ourselves. That's suicide. Ain't no good morning. Islam mean tighten up. Stand on your square. Do what's right. Love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice must be what? Proclaimed and what? And practiced by all members of this movement. So now instead of people taking their individual responsibility and doing what's right in accordance with law of self-study, self-knowledge, self-improvement, self-esteem, self-encouragement, self-building, self-stimulated, self-taught, self-educated, self. Self is a cure and a disease. What's your intent and purpose? What's your goals? What's your mission? What's your focus? What's your discipline? You know what I'm saying? Because you are what you think. You think low, you're gonna be on the lower vibration of existence. That's why the prophet said, raise your thoughts to infinite wisdom. You know what I'm saying? The prophet said, look, I'm about to raise you back to the highest plane of the spirit. Like, I'm finna have you vibrating at an all-time speed, at an all-time pace. I'm finna speed you up. You finna be vibrating. You finna get back to the spiritual. You finna be able to see with the spiritual eye. You can't see with these eyes because the vibration's too slow. You can't see the spirit plane. So in order to get to the spirit plane, you gotta do spiritual activities. You gotta do things that nurture the spirit. Maybe eating right, maybe exercising, maybe drinking clean water, maybe clean up your environment, maybe getting away from toxic people, maybe ending the practice of doing shit that ain't helping yourself improve. Excuse my language too, by the way. You know, but it's a lot of work that got to go in before you can clean up somebody else's house, you got to clean up your own house. Right. That's where the battleground is really at. Because once you clean up your own house, then everything around you be clean. You see what I'm saying? And then you arm with truth. But if your house ain't clean, you can't tell me to clean up. Right. You can't go to the park and clean up if your house ain't clean. You can't clean up the neighborhood, your house ain't clean. Clean living room. You get what I'm saying? Like you what you doing coming outside? You ain't took care of your chores. King, queen. That's kingliness. That's queenliness stuff right there. You gotta be clean. And so it's just about individual responsibility and being honest with yourself and thought process. And then you got what you need to that force. You got that force, you develop that force to be able to manifest the reality that you seek. Because you know the disciplines to be successful in that achieving your objective. But man, look, I see you doing your thing, bro. I'm gonna tap back in. I'm gonna go to the office about 20 minutes from now so we can tap in. I got a few more documents to prepare for that situation for you. And then and then I got the other the other meeting coming up in a few minutes from now. So I gotta get my man locked in.
Okay, that's a bet.
All right, so I hit you in about 30, 45 minutes.
All right, peace.
Peace.
Okay.